Well, good morning, everyone. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the fourth Sunday in Advent. It's 5 days before Christmas. We're on the home stretch, and I hope that you are doing well. Today, we're going to talk about Mary, Jesus's mother, and the visit that she had from an angel by the name of Gabriel, who came to give her the message that God had shown her favor and that she would get pregnant and carry this child who would become the promised Messiah, long-awaited Messiah. It's just fantastical news that we're dealing with today. But I want to talk a little bit about what Mary's circumstances would have been like in the first century Mediterranean culture. It says that she was engaged to Joseph, and that notion of being engaged, we have a certain idea in the 21st century United States of America what engagement is, but it would have been very different back then, and the better word would have been betrothed. What would have happened in order for her to be betrothed to this person, Joseph? There would have been negotiations, perhaps between the mothers, and then the fathers would have the final word, and this would have been a contract of not just joining two families together, but of joining the honor of two families together. And there would have been a value put on this joining of these two families and their honor. There would have been exchange of valuable goods. It was a lot, it was like a business deal in many ways. And so sometimes when we try to romanticize it, we need to stop and think about that her life was pretty much set and planned, and she hadn't had a whole lot to say about it. So this was not a romantic relationship that had just come to this place where they wanted to get married. And so this angel comes to have this conversation with Mary, who is a young girl just coming of age. And this angel tells her this amazing news and interrupts what she had already understood to be her future. And so then she says, well, how can it be that I'm going to get pregnant with this child? I've never been with a man. And she needed to not be with a man because she was betrothed to Joseph. And the angel said, well, the Holy Spirit will come upon you. You know, God's got this. And then she says, let it be, as you say. And sometimes we think this is a real strike of courage on her part, but in actuality, she would have not had very much individual agency in her life anyway. And so she was used to people making decisions for her and her having to go, okay, let it be. But there was a special moment of acceptance, and not only acceptance, but what Mary had the ability to do was to use her imagination to envision the prospect and possibility of hope beyond her present circumstances. And I think that being able to envision hope is one of the main messages of this text today. And bizarrely, when I was thinking about this, it reminded me of the year that I did of hospital chaplaincy at a hospital in Houston. And one of the things that I would be assigned to do, that we all would be assigned to do, is we had different floors that we would visit on occasion. We'd go see the patients and just sort of be a presence of welcome or a presence of comfort or concern for them. And you didn't usually get to know them very well because they were in and out of the hospital. But one of the things that they did for us as chaplains was they issued us these white lab coats that said chaplain on them. And so we would wear them when we were at work, much like the doctors would wear their white lab coats back then. This was 20-something years ago, so I'm sure things have changed a lot. But I remember going in to visit this one man, and most of the time, if you walked in with a white lab coat, people thought you were official. And so sometimes they would start giving me their symptoms because they wouldn't have read the word chaplain yet. But if they read the word chaplain, then they usually were pretty open just to maybe talk about their concerns or their fears in this moment of uncertainty about their health. But there was this one guy that I walked in to see him, and he was an older gentleman, And he was probably my age now, but 20-something years ago, he seemed really old to me. And so I just introduced myself and said I was coming to visit with him and how was he doing that day. And he was really gruff and hateful and blunt and pretty much told me to get out of his room. And he said, I remember very distinctly, he said, I do not believe in fairy tales. That's a bunch of bunk. Get out of here. And that really made an impression on me, because I wondered what has happened to him to make him not even be able to have a conversation with someone who is a representative of faith. And sadly, a couple of days later, I found out that he died while trying to go to the bathroom. I mean, he had a heart attack. And I thought, this is so odd that he died of constipation. Now, I know that sounds so weird, but what it made me think of is that he was so full of hate. He was so full of pain. He was so full of anger that his body just gave out with it. And I thought that was tragic. And the reason that it reminded me that I was reminded of him when thinking about Mary's ability to imagine beyond her present circumstances is that it made me sad that he did not have that capacity for hope, that something in his life had broken his imagination. And so I think that's the opportunity that we have with this text today. You know, our world is in such stress and under such duress, and in our country, there are people that are filled with such rage and resentment and hate that they've lost their ability to imagine hope. And so my prayer for you this week is that you can think about those things that you're holding on to that are blocking your imagination, and that you will allow the source of all love, the God of all love, to enter into that space. And it doesn't require you having everything figured out theologically and deciding whether you believe literally this happened or it didn't happen, but this is the message for us, is that we have been created for hope and possibility, and that the source of all love meets us in that. And that is what the story of this baby being born to bring hope into the world is all about. This is my last Sunday with First Presbyterian Church in Kingsville. I am officially retiring. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm getting out of ministry altogether, but it'll just be a new season and a new phase of things. And I want to take this quick opportunity, because there are some of you that have been watching these videos since March and you've not been able to come back to in-person worship. I want to take this opportunity to tell you how much I have appreciated the opportunity to be your pastor for the last 3 years. And I'm proud of the things that we did together. I know that 2020, we didn't get all of the things that we planned to do done like we wanted to, but we still have that capacity to hope together. I'm gonna keep doing these porch talks just because I feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But I want to tell you that I will hold you in my heart and my prayers, and I know that God has a beautiful season planned for you. And I want to encourage you just to imagine the possibilities, and God will make it happen. God bless you, and go in peace.